Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to the next lecture, lecture number 9 of English literature. In the last session, we have discussed that Antonio, a Venetian merchant, is hanging out with his friends Salarino and Silanio on a street in Venice. Antonio is sad, though he claims he doesn't know why. So today we will continue the reading and explanation of Act 1, Scene 1. Setting is the same, that is the street in Venice, where exeunt Salarino and Silanio and enters Bassanio, Lorenzo and Gratiano. Salarino and Silanio, they both take leave. Exeunt here means, exeunt is actually the plural of exit. So Salarino and Silanio, they are gone, and Antonio is joined by Bassanio, Lorenzo and Gratiano. Okay, so the first dialogue is of Lorenzo. My Lord Bassanio, since you have found Antonio, we too will leave you, but at dinner time, I pray you have in mind where we must meet. Have in mind means do remember, don't forget. So Lorenzo here says Bassanio that Signor Bassanio, as you have met Antonio, so we should take leave of you. But you must not forget that we will be dining together tonight. In reply, Bassanio says, I will not fail you. Fail means disappoint. So Bassanio says, I will certainly meet you at the appointed time and place. Gratiano, you look not well, Signor Antonio. You have too much respect upon the world. You look not well means you look sad and depressed. So Gratiano says you look depressed and you look sad. It seems that you attach too much importance to the opinion of the world or to the worldly things. So my dear students, according to critics, this line means that Antonio has too much respect for the good opinion of the world. Line number 3. They lose it that do buy it with much care. So Gratiano says, those who care too much for the world or its opinion lose all the joy of life. By this he means those who are always worrying about what the world would say or think of them lead a life full of worries. Believe me, you are marvelously changed. Marvelously means greatly. So Gratiano says that in my opinion, in Gratiano's opinion, Antonio is greatly changed from his real self. This shows that Antonio is melancholic due to some reason. Okay, there must be some cause for it. There must be some cause for his melancholy. Antonio says, I hold the world, but as the world, Gratiano. Hold here means care. So Antonio says, I do not worry much about the opinion of the world. I do not attach any exaggerated importance to the good opinion of the world. Antonio says, I care for the world only as much as it should be cared for and not more than that. A stage where every man must play a part and mine a sad one. A stage here means Antonio regards the world as stage. We have in one of Shakespeare's pastoral comedy, As You Like It, a very famous line, these very famous lines, all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely actors. Okay, so a stage where every man must play a part. By referring to that, Antonio regards the world as a stage, and he says the part which I have to play on the stage of the world is a sad one. When he says and mine a sad one, by this he means this world is a stage and the character or the part which I have to play on this stage is a sad one. In reply to that, Graciano says, let me play the fool. The fool, as I have explained earlier as well, is a comic character, which means to act the part of a clown or play the fool. Graciano here means to say that if Antonio will play the serious or sorrowful part, he will play the gay part like that of a clown. Okay, next line. With mirth and laughter, let old wrinkles come. Mirth here means merriment, jollity. So he says, let me grow old and wrinkled by spending my time in merrymaking and laughter. And let my liver rather heat with wine than my heart cool with mortifying groans. Mortifying groans means sighs that cause death. Okay, so he says, and let my liver rather heat with wine than my heart cool with mortifying groans. By comparing himself and sad Antonio, he says, I would prefer my liver heated with wine and righteous living. Righteous mean uproarious, clamorous. So you see, Graciano is comparing himself with Antonio and saying that by comparing myself with sad Antonio, I would prefer my liver heated with wine and righteous living. Righteous means uproarious, clamorous. Then have my heart chilled with sighs and groans which cause death, but I would like to lead a merry life. So he says that as compared to Antonio, I would love to spend my life as a happy one, merry one. So I want to tell you one more thing. A hot liver is a bad disease as cold heart. Okay, next he says, why should a man whose blood is warm within sit like his grandsire cut in alabaster? So by this he means why should a man whose blood is warm within, a man in the full vigor, a man with ardor, passion of youth. Warm blood, as you know, is a sign of youth and vitality, energy. Grandsire means grandfather. Alabaster, marble or statue, a kind of white costly stone. So cut in alabaster here means carved in stone. So he says by this line, sit like his grandsire cut in alabaster, he means you see, this is simile. As you can see, the word like is used here and he is comparing something as stiff and cold as an alabaster statue. So he is comparing that sad man by saying that why should a man sit like a statue, okay, as stiff and cold as an alabaster statue of his grandfather. He says, why should a young and full of energy or vigor and vitality look pale, cold and lifeless like the cold marble statue of his grandfather? This line, sit like his grandsire cut in alabaster, means he says, why should a young and full of vigor and vitality look pale, cold and lifeless like the cold marble statue of his grandfather? Next line, sleep when he wakes and creep into the jaundice. Sleep when he wakes means Why should he be dull and lifeless and look sleepy when he awakes? And creep into jaundice means, why should a man full of vigor gradually fall into jaundice by being irritable by his ill temper? Jaundice is a disease of the liver which makes the sufferer fall yellow all over the body. Okay, so he says, why should a young man look pale, cold and sleepy when he is all right, and why should he seem sleepy when he is awake, and why should he fall into jaundice by being peevish? Peevish means irritable. So he says, but why should he gradually develop jaundice as a result of his ill temper? By being peevish here means, Shakespeare here alludes to the popular belief that jaundice is caused by violent mental actions or emotions, including peevishness. So he says, I tell thee what, Antonio, I love thee, and it is my love that speaks. So he tells Antonio, Graciano tells Antonio, that it is out of my love and affection for you that I am giving you this advice. Okay, the dialogue continues, and he says, there are sort of men whose visages means face, countenance, their appearance, their looks. There are men, he says, that there are people of such kind or nature whose visages, whose faces, whose countenance or their appearance do cream and mantle like a standing pond. Cream and mantle, these are two metaphors used which have the same sense. Number one, cream, forming on the surface of the milk and covering it. Number two is mantle, it's a scum or layer or crust forming on the surface of the stagnant or standing water and covering it. So he says, just as cream covers the surface of the milk and scum covers the surface of the stagnant water, so gravity or seriousness covers the faces of some men. Next line, and do a willful stillness entertain. And he says, such men maintain an obstinate silence with purpose to be dressed in an opinion. Opinion here means reputation of wisdom, gravity, profound conceit. Conceit means thought. So he says, such people, why they do so? Just to acquire a reputation of wisdom, gravity and profound thought. He means that they deliberately and obstinately keep silence and look serious in order to get the reputation of possessing great wisdom and depth of thought. Alright. So the next line, as who should say, as who mean those who or ones who should say, I am Sir Oracle, and when I open lips let no dog bark. As who mean one who or those who. Oracle, oracle was the priest of the temple of Apollo, Apollo, Apollo in ancient Greece. So the expression oracle means a person famed for wisdom, and I am Sir Oracle means one who thinks himself possessed of superior wisdom. Okay, in the next line, OPE means open, and let no dog bark mean let no one dare to interrupt me, let there be complete silence. So he says, and when such people speak, they desire that no ordinary person should dare interrupt them. Next line. Oh my Antonio, I do know of these. I do know of these means I am well acquainted with these people. Oh my dear Antonio, I very well know these people, that therefore only are reputed wise for saying nothing. Okay, so he says who are considered wise only because they keep silent. So by this he means to say that such people just they are known to be wise just because they keep silent. Next line. If they should speak, would almost damn those ears. Damn mean cause to be damned, cause to be condemned to hell. Ears here means hearers, listeners. Okay, so he says that such people, if they should speak, would almost damn those ears which hearing them would call their brothers fools. If they were to speak, I can say with certainty, says Graciano, that if they would dare to speak, I can say with certainty their stupid and silly utterances would surely tempt their listeners to call them fools, and in this way, according to Bible, they would be damned. Next line. I will tell thee more of this another time. Okay, so he says, Graciano says, I shall talk on this issue any other time. But fish not with this melancholy bait. Fish not mean do not try to catch. Melancholy bait, this bait of melancholy. So he says, before I leave, I would advise you not to try to catch this fish. Which fish? Of reputation. So he is calling reputation a fish for wisdom. So he says, before leaving, I would like to advise you not to try to catch this fish of reputation for wisdom by the bait of sad countenance, because this reputation is as worthless as a worthless fish. It is of no value at all. Next line. For this fool gudgeon, this opinion come. Fool gudgeon means the gudgeon is a greedy fish that swallows any bait and is therefore easy to catch but has little food value. You got it? So he says, be not like that gudgeon, fool gudgeon. Come, good Lorenzo, fare ye well a while. So he calls Lorenzo and says, let us take a leave for some time. I will end my exhortation after dinner. Exhortation means sermon, my discourse. So he says, let us go, Lorenzo. Goodbye to you, gentlemen, for the time being. I will complete my discourse, or I will complete my sermon on this subject after dinner. As you know, they have to meet at dinner as well. So Lorenzo says, well, we will leave you then till dinner time. I must be one of these same dumb wise men, for Graciano never lets me speak. So Lorenzo says, we take leave of you till dinner time. I must be one of those dumb wise men mentioned by Graciano. Which one? Those who win a reputation of wisdom by keeping silent, because he was not saying anything throughout. Lorenzo was all quiet throughout the time. And he says that for Graciano never gives me chance of speaking. In reply to that, Graciano says, well, keep me company but 2 years more. More means more. More is more. Thou shalt not know the sound of thine own tongue. Thou mean you. Shall not know the sound of thine own tongue. Thine mean your. So he says, keep my company for 2 years more, and you will not be able to recognize the sound of your own tongue. Why? Why he says so? Because he won't let him speak. Okay, Antonio says, farewell, I will grow a talker for this gear. I will grow means, I'll grow mean I would become. Talker, a talkative person. For this gear, because of the advice which Graciano has given him. So Antonio also goodbye them and he says that now I would become talkative after this advice that you have given me. Graciano says, thanks, I faith for silence is only commendable. I faith indeed. I faith mean indeed. Commendable, praiseworthy or desirable. In a neat's tongue, dried and a maid, not vendible. In a neat's tongue, neats here mean an ox. A maid, not vendible mean a maiden who has grown too old. Who is maiden? An unmarried lady is called maiden. So a maid not vendible mean a maiden who has grown too old and so cannot be sold in the marriage market. So he says, truly I thank you. Silence is praiseworthy only in a dry dog's tongue and in a girl who has failed to find a husband in the marriage market. Okay. So by this, Graciano and Lorenzo they leave. Exeunt, Graciano and Lorenzo. Graciano and Lorenzo they take leave, they exit. So we end our lecture over here by assigning you this assignment that you have to differentiate between, B is missing of between. You have to differentiate between illusion and illusion. Okay, search on it and define illusion and illusion with an example. That's all for today. Thank you so much. In case of any query, feel free to consult me. Have a nice day. Allah Hafiz.